I just finished watching the first 4 episodes of Wednesday Season 2, and guys, we need to talk about it. Right off the bat, this video is packed with spoilers, so consider yourself warned. Some of our theories, spot on. Others, completely crushed, and Netflix hit us with plot twists absolutely no one saw coming. Agnes DeMille, not who we thought she was, or is she? And what about Laurel Gates? I've talked about her so many times here on the channel, especially after Christina Ricci's name showed up on the IMDb cast list. We were sure she'd return, probably in the final episode to set up Season 3, but nope, her storyline gets wrapped up fast in these first 4 episodes. Still, what we get instead is a much bigger conspiracy tied to Willow Hill, shady experiments on outcasts, and villains who make Laurel Gates look like an amateur. And here's the kicker, we might have just figured out who that mysterious prisoner is at the end of episode 4. If I'm right, and I've been right before, this changes everything. Longtime viewers of the channel, you know I've been building toward this theory for months now. Tyler's back too stronger and more dangerous than ever. He's not in it much, but Hunter Doohan's performance, super intense, super sharp. And Uncle Fester, he gets some serious screen time and plays a much bigger role than expected. I've got a lot to say about that. But real quick, if you're new here, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Part 2 drops in just a few weeks and you don't want to miss a single breakdown. I'm Raphael CG, and let's dive into this analysis. Let's kick things off with Agnes DeMille, because our theory was kinda right, kinda wrong, but honestly, more right than wrong. Remember how we suspected she was the masked figure from the trailer? Nailed it. Agnes was the masked figure we saw in those quick flashes. But where we totally missed the mark was her motivation. Or did we? She's not connected to Laurel Gates, and she's definitely not some descendant of the Pilgrims, like we theorized. Turns out Agnes DeMille has the power of invisibility and was stalking Wednesday for one reason. She's a full-on obsessed fan. And speaking of stalking, right in the opening scenes at Nevermore, we get an update on Xavier. Barry Dort casually mentions he's away this semester on an exchange program, which opens the door for him to come back in future seasons. Now, back to Agnes. This reveal was wild, that she started pulling her own pranks. She even went as far as kidnapping Enid during prank day and hiding her in the clock tower. Yeah, that exact scene we saw in the trailer. And remember that shot of Uncle Fester blasting electricity from his hands? That was this moment. Agnes was cloaked in invisibility inside the clock tower, but Fester sensed her presence. He zapped a lightning bolt right where she was hiding, and boom, her invisibility shorted out, and her hair went full electrocuted mode. That's the kind of attention to detail Netflix hid from the trailers, but with our analysis goggles on, we were able to piece it together. Here's something fun. Way back in some of our early theory videos, I floated the idea that Wednesday's stalker could be part of a prank. At the time, I guessed it might be Uncle Fester. Okay, I missed who it was, but the concept was pretty spot on. So our theory was partially right. Agnes was the masked figure and the stalker, but her motivation, way simpler than we imagined. But here's the real question. Has Agnes been lurking invisibly throughout the entire season? If so, how? She wasn't even enrolled at Nevermore. And more importantly, is she really as harmless as she seems? Because honestly, there's some tension building between her and Enid. Enid's clearly not okay with how obsessed Agnes is with Wednesday. And a stalker who's already kidnapped someone, even if it was just a prank, that can escalate real fast. Agnes may seem quirky and harmless now, but she might turn out to be way more dangerous than anyone realizes. Now this is where the season really takes off, because what we uncover next is a conspiracy way darker than anything Laurel Gates could have ever cooked up. So here's what happens. After the events of season 1, Laurel Gates ends up in prison, and Tyler, he's sent to a psychiatric facility called Willow Hill, supposedly for treatment under Dr. Fairburn, a psychiatrist who even wrote a book on how to manage outcasts despite being a normie herself. At first glance, Willow Hill looks like a legit facility. Respectable, clean, professional, but underneath that polished surface, there were rumors, whispers of secret experiments being run on outcasts behind closed doors, and that's when Sheriff Galpin starts digging. He finds actual evidence, real proof that something shady is going on. People have been disappearing, specifically outcasts. They'd check in and never check out. No trace, no explanation. Galpin was getting close to exposing the truth about what happened to Tyler and what really goes on inside Willow Hill. But just as he and his partner were about to blow it all wide open, they were murdered by killer crows. Yeah, killer crows. That's how far this conspiracy reaches. And that's when we meet the man pulling the strings, Gus Stonyworth. A normie, no powers, seemed totally average. He used to be a science teacher at Nevermore for 10 years before mysteriously becoming the head of Willow Hill. But somewhere along the way, he snapped. Gus went from professor to patient, but not before setting a horrifying plan into motion. While teaching at Nevermore, Gus became obsessed with the outcasts, their abilities, their genetics, their limits. He started conducting underground experiments designed to steal outcast powers and transfer them to normies. Think about that, a powerless human trying to rewrite nature, creating a way for ordinary people to become extraordinary, no matter the cost. So yeah, forget Laurel Gates. This is next level villainy, and it might just redefine what's coming in part 2. Now this is where things get truly dark, because here comes the most twisted plot twist of the season. Gus's first test subject was his own daughter, Judy. She was born a normie, no powers, no special traits, but through her father's experiments, she was transformed into an aviary, someone who can control birds, especially crows. According to Judy herself, once Gus saw that the experiment worked on her, he tried it on himself. Big mistake. His body couldn't handle it. The process broke him, leaving him in that vegetative state we see in the episodes. Mind gone, lights out, and that's when Judy took over. She stepped into her father's role as the new head of Willow Hill and kept the experiments going. But once she realized Sheriff Galpin was getting too close, collecting evidence, piecing things together, she acted. First, she took out Galpin's partner. Then, when she saw that Wednesday was also on the trail and connecting the dots, Judy personally joined the hunt. That's when the real chaos of the season kicks off. What's truly terrifying about Judy is that she didn't just continue her father's work, she surpassed him in every way. Gus at least went insane because of what he did. Judy, she stayed perfectly sane while systematically torturing people. She took her personal trauma, being a powerless normie in a world obsessed with outcasts, and turned it into an industrialized machine of cruelty. And unlike Laurel Gates, who had her own twisted ideology, some internal logic behind her actions, Judy, driven by power, she doesn't want to uplift normies or fight injustice. She wants to control both sides. Outcasts, normies, doesn't matter, as long as she's the one holding all the power. Alright, this next part had me scratching my head in the best way possible, and I have to share this theory with you all. There's a moment in episode 4 that really stood out. Total chaos is breaking loose, and the zombie shows up, kills Dr. Fairburn, but before he kills Gus, he says something very specific. "Hello, old friend," and that line got me thinking. That's the first time we've heard the zombie speak clearly, like really speak, not groaning or mumbling. Why would he say that to Gus? Old friend? That implies a connection, a past. So here's where things get interesting. Let's rewind to episode 1, where we learn the so-called origin story of the zombie. According to the tale, he was a brilliant young kid, a genius really, but he was dying because he needed a new heart. So he built a mechanical one himself, kept himself alive, and came back, more inspired than ever. He started running science experiments at Nevermore, gained popularity, until one day, an experiment on a rat went wrong. He died, and they buried him under a tree. End of story, right? But what if that isn't the real story? Here's the twist. The zombie's obsession with animals and experimentation is very Dr. Moreau, and remember, Wednesday herself compares Dr. Moreau to Gus. What if the story we were told wasn't actually about the zombie, but about Gus? Think about it. Gus was a science teacher at Nevermore, obsessed with experimentation. What if the flashback from episode 1 is a cover story, a rewritten version of events meant to hide the truth? What if Gus wasn't just experimenting on rats, but on outcasts? Let's piece this together. Judy says Gus eventually tried the experiment on himself and it failed. He ends up in a vegetative state, brain fried, body broken. But before that, maybe he tested it on someone else, someone who died as a result, and that someone was the zombie, which would explain everything. The zombie wakes up with deep-seated rage and vengeance because Gus killed him, because he was the failed experiment, and when Judy buried the body under that tree, she gave him a fake heart and made up a tragic backstory to protect her father's legacy, to keep people from asking questions. And that's why when the zombie comes back, the first person he goes after is Gus, because Gus isn't just an old friend, he's the one who killed him. It's poetic, it's tragic, and it fits way too well to be a coincidence. Alright, let's talk about one of the most intriguing reveals in these first 4 episodes that mysterious prisoner Wednesday finds at the very end of episode 4. After Uncle Fester fries the power grid and knocks out the lights at Willow Hill, all hell breaks loose. The test subjects are released and most of them go straight after Judy for revenge. Judy manages to escape barely, but Wednesday doesn't chase her. Instead, she stays behind to help one patient, a woman locked in a cell, terrified, refusing to leave. And that moment sparked 2 major theories about who this mysterious prisoner might be. The first possibility, this woman is Ophelia Frump, Morticia's sister. Morticia explains earlier in the season that, like Wednesday, Ophelia had a major psychic breakdown when she was younger, and Grandmama Frump sent her straight to Willow Hill. Uncle Fester even mentions that Morticia asked him to check in on Ophelia, but by the time he got there, she had already escaped. But what if she didn't stay free for long? Fester searched for days and never found her. So maybe Ophelia did escape at first, but was eventually captured again and thrown back into Willow Hill. And this time, Gus or Judy knew exactly who she was and used her as part of their twisted experiments. That would explain her trauma and fear of leaving the cell she tried to escape once, and things only got worse. And here's something else. In past videos, we've talked about the rumor that Lady Gaga could be playing Ophelia Frump. Some say she'll appear as a new teacher at Nevermore, but what if that teacher is Ophelia, using a new identity after surviving Willow Hill? Now, the second theory. What if that prisoner is Tyler's mother? We know she disappeared years ago under mysterious circumstances. What if she didn't really disappear? What if she was taken, captured, and held at Willow Hill as a test subject for years? That would explain why she's so terrified, so broken. Imagine the trauma after all that time being experimented on and no one ever knew. Now think about the emotional fallout if Tyler finds out. He's already unstable. He's already killed Laurel Gates. But if he discovers that Gus and Judy were torturing his mom this whole time, that she was alive, imprisoned, suffering, it would light a fire under him that could burn everything down. That kind of reveal could reshape the entire second half of the season. So who is she? If it's Ophelia, it ties directly into the Addams family legacy and explains why Wednesday stayed behind to protect her, some kind of instinctive emotional recognition. If it's Tyler's mom, it sets up a deeply personal revenge arc for him that could be explosive. Or maybe we're completely off base and this is a brand new character altogether. What do you think? Drop your theories in the comments. I'll be reading them all. Now, let's talk about one of the most jaw-dropping moments from these first 4 episodes. Tyler finally killing Laurel Gates in the chaos of the final act. As everything's collapsing and people are either escaping or dying, Laurel makes her move. She frees Tyler from his restraints, thinking he'll fall back under her control, just like in season 1. But she couldn't have been more wrong. Tyler kills Laurel Gates, for real this time. If you paid close attention, she's pale, eyes wide open, not breathing. This wasn't a fake out. Laurel's gone, like really gone. And did you notice the hide? It looks different now, bulkier, more monstrous. His back even gave me major Abomination from Incredible Hulk vibes, especially in that shot where he's stomping on police cars and tearing through the chaos. Visually, it's such a cool evolution. Tyler's hide form isn't just scarier, it's more powerful, more unhinged. And the irony of it all, Laurel Gates, who spent all of season 1 manipulating Tyler, controlling him, turning him into her weapon, ends up dying by his hand. It's almost poetic. Tyler as Hyde has always been a bit unpredictable. Sometimes he kills, other times he just mauls people and lets them live. But with Laurel, there's no question, she's dead. Christina Ricci came back, gave us a cool callback to season 1, wrapped up her arc, and now she's officially out of the picture. Now, of course, Wednesday didn't die. Tyler wrecks her, leaves her battered and unconscious, but he doesn't finish the job. He escapes. And in the teaser for part 2, we see Wednesday in a coma, but obviously she's gonna wake up. You know she's not done. What really stands out here is just how far gone Tyler is now. In season 1, there were moments, glimpses of humanity, inner conflict, but now that's gone. He's fully embraced the Hyde side. He's transforming at will, and he doesn't seem to care anymore. And that changes everything going forward. Tyler's no longer the pawn, he's the predator. He's out there untethered, acting on his own. And that makes him way more dangerous, because when someone's pulling the strings, at least there's a plan, a pattern. Now, Tyler's just loose, broken, furious, and with no one left to rein him in. Now let's break down all the loose threads left dangling for part 2, because seriously, there's a lot happening all at once. Part 1 gave us answers, sure, but it also left behind a ton of unresolved chaos that's clearly setting the stage for something massive. First, the zombie. He killed both Dr. Fairburn and Gus, and then disappeared. He's not locked up anymore. No one's controlling him, and based on what we've seen, he's not done. He's got unfinished business. Second, Judy escaped too. And you know she's not just going to disappear quietly. Her father's dead. Her entire plan fell apart, and she absolutely blames Wednesday. Judy doesn't take losses, she takes revenge. Third, Tyler. He escaped after killing Laurel Gates. But here's where it gets really interesting. What if he goes after Judy? Think about it. Judy is the one who killed Sheriff Galpin, Tyler's dad. That could easily set up a revenge arc where Tyler becomes the one to hunt her down. Fourth, all the Willow Hill test subjects were released. Dozens, maybe hundreds of traumatized outcasts, some of them with artificially enhanced powers, now roaming free. That's not just a problem, that's a ticking time bomb. Fifth, what's going on with Bianca's mom? She's still out there on the run from her cult drama, and we know that storyline isn't finished. And who was Principal Barry Dort talking to on the phone? He's clearly working on something shady behind the scenes. 6. I'm almost certain Morticia took Goody's book after Grandmama Frump left. The look on her face, she definitely grabbed it. Maybe for protection, maybe for something else. And the biggest unanswered question of all, how is Wednesday going to stop Enid's death? That vision still hasn't come true, and if there's one thing we know about Wednesday's visions is that they always happen, in one form or another. So here's my prediction for part 2. Judy comes back not just to silence Wednesday, but now with personal motivation. Her entire life was torn apart and she'll want to burn everything down, starting with the Addams family. But plot twist, I think it's Tyler who will take her down. You heard it here first. Tyler will kill Judy as revenge for what she did to Galpin. We're looking at a 3-way collision course. Wednesday, Tyler, and Judy, all with different goals, different scars, and different scores to settle, but all of them tied to Willow Hill. It's a triangle of vengeance, and it's going to explode in part 2. Honestly, I'm loving this season so far, and there's still so much more to unpack. While I was putting this video together, I got genuinely hyped. There are so many details, clues, and layers we still need to break down here on the channel. Part 1 of Season 2 pulled off something really impressive. It tied back to Season 1 in a meaningful way, but also took the story into bold, uncharted territory. Agnes wasn't the big villain we expected yet, but her obsession could still spiral into something way darker. Willow Hill revealed a conspiracy that makes Laurel Gates look like a warm-up act. Tyler, he's finally off the leash and more dangerous than ever. And that mystery prisoner, whether it's Ophelia Frump or Tyler's mother, is going to shift the entire dynamic in part 2. Jenna Ortega said this season would lean more into horror, mystery, and suspense, less romance, more edge. And honestly, she delivered. So far, it's already a huge step up from Season 1. Also, I'm thinking about doing a full video just on hidden details and Easter eggs because this season is packed with references and subtle clues. So if you're down for a deep dive on the Easter eggs, let me know in the comments. And of course, if you don't want to miss any of it, make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit that bell so you're first to see every theory, breakdown, and update. I'm Raphael CG, this is Wednesday Universe, and I'll see you in the next one.